What period of time did you serve Country Club Christian Church?
I served Country Club between 1991 and into early 2002.
How would you describe Country Club Christian Church to someone who has never visited the church?
Well, I'd say this to a newcomer. There's no mistaking Country Club Christian Church for an office building. It is a cathedral on Ward Parkway, a work of art in wood, stone, and stained glass. But more importantly than that is what you experience at this church. It's a welcome that is all-embracing. It is a welcome that says, you're a child of God, and you are welcome here. We have a place for you.
How did you glimpse the Spirit of God at work through Country Club Christian Church?
The most likely place to glimpse the presence of God is in the service of worship. Through heartfelt prayers and encouraging preaching and glorious music. It just might be that a tiny corner of the ordinariness of your life will be lifted and you can experience the very presence of God. Just catch a glimpse of God.
When you look back on the church's last 100 years, what stands out to you?
Context makes the difference in this particular illustration. It was the late 1940s. The Second World War was still a raw memory, and the people of this church raised the money and gave the sponsorship to a Japanese ministry student to come to this country to study. After 3 years, he went home, and for the next generation, he was considered one of the leading Christian theologians of Japan. Now, that's a remarkable illustration of being the church. Our Lord taught, love your enemies and do good to those that hate you. Why? Because it changes your enemy, and it'll change you.
What do you see as the biggest accomplishment of the church during the time that you served there?
Let me mention two things. One, we invented and instituted a wedding and early marriage ministry of national consequence. In fact, we were featured on a public television documentary on Valentine's Day. Now, the second thing is that I had the good sense to put the right person in charge of that ministry. It was a young, relatively inexperienced pastor on the church staff who seemed to have remarkable abilities. That person, of course, was Carla Adey. And I think that was one of the best decisions I made while I was here.
What is your wish for the church's next 100 years?
Well, obviously my wish is that the church be here in another 100 years. And there is no guarantee. I even have a question about the near future. I ask, once this great pandemic sickness is over, will people come back to church? Well, I don't know for sure, but I think they will if the church does two things. First, continues to be faithful to the gospel. And second, makes the changes that are necessary to what will be a very different time.